Now AMD's 5500 XT seems to be a very nice successor to the RX 580 and performs very well in 1080p gaming. In this video I show a fast $550 gaming PC that features the 5500 XT and the 6-core Ryzen 5 2600. These parts make this machine excellent for 1080p gamers and content creators. This is the Hardware Hub and let's get right into it. Now let's start this build off by talking about the CPU, which as you heard in my intro, is the Ryzen 5 2600 for $120. This is quite a capable CPU when it launched and it still holds up very well in 2020. One of the main reasons it does so well is the core count. This has 6 cores and 12 threads, which is more than enough for most games and is a great amount for things like video editing, file compression, and other CPU heavy tasks. If the performance as stock isn't good enough for you, you can overclock the CPU like all Ryzen CPUs and get even more performance out of it. The stock cooler is pretty beefy, so you should be able to get some nice overclocks. Altogether, this CPU is a beast today, even a few years after launch, and it's unmatched in performance at this price point. Now to house this CPU, I went with the ASRock B450M Pro 4 motherboard for $72. AMD's B450 lineup is one of their best values since it has features like overclocking that lower end chipsets don't have. This model also has 4 RAM slots, which means that you have room to upgrade in the future when it comes to RAM, and it also features an M.2 slot alongside 4 SATA ports, which will easily satisfy your storage needs. The motherboard also comes with crossfire support and RAID support, which are cool features and might be useful for some of you out there. For $72, this motherboard has a nice all-around feature set. Next up for the RAM, I chose the G.Skill Aegis 16GB set for $63. 16GB really is recommended for most games these days, so I would not go any lower than this. Most modern CPUs really like high frequency RAM, so going with a 3000MHz kit like this definitely makes a difference in your gaming performance. If you're doing heavy content creation like 4K video editing, you might want more RAM, but for the majority of people out there, this kit is the perfect amount. Now for the storage for this PC, I decided to throw in a 2TB Seagate Barracuda for $50. Now normally when I put together a build around this price point, I recommend going with a 500GB SSD and adding in a hard drive later. However, SSD prices have been creeping up lately, so a decent 500GB SSD is closer to $60 to $65, which is a big enough difference to make me stick to a hard drive for this PC. The Seagate drive should offer decent speed since it spins at 7200 RPM and offers excellent value as you're getting 2 whole terabytes of storage. If you have extra cash or can survive on a low amount of storage, you can go with a 500GB SSD instead and add in a hard drive later. In case you want to do that, I'll link a nice 8 SSD down below. But for most of us, I think that this 2TB Seagate drive will work just fine. Now when you're putting together a gaming PC, the graphics card is a very important selection because it impacts your game performance the most. For this PC, as I said in the intro, I went with the ASRock RX 5500 XT for $174. The 5500 XT is one of AMD's newer cards, and this offers excellent 1080p game performance while consuming significantly less power than last generation's RX 580. At higher resolution, the 4GB of VRAM will start to show its limits, so I'd recommend that if you're trying to do something like 1440p gaming, you spend a little bit more and get a GTX 1660 Super or a RX 5600 XT if that's something you want to do. However, for 1080p gaming, which is what this card is targeted at, 4GB of VRAM is definitely enough. The cooler that ASRock put on this card is pretty decent and will keep temperatures low enough for a decent and safe overclock. Altogether, this card is an incremental upgrade over the RX 580 and works well for the price. Now to house all these components, I chose the Rosewill SCM01 for $27. Now if you're spending this little money on a case, I'm sure you're not going to expect a lot. However, this case is probably a little bit better than your expectations. Starting off with the design, it looks minimal and can easily fit with any kind of computer setup. Since this case is somewhat compact, you'll probably have some restricted airflow, but it shouldn't be a big enough deal to the point where it impacts your performance. Building this will be pretty straightforward since it doesn't have any fancy features like a PSU shroud and features the usual basic cable routing holes that we've come to expect with all cases. Altogether, this case does everything that you need for under $30, which is pretty tough to beat. Now last but not least, for the power supply, we have a 500W EVGA white unit for $48. EVGA is definitely one of my favorite PSU manufacturers because of the reliability and excellent customer service, so I'm sure most of you will be satisfied with this purchase. This model is 80 plus white rated, which is not super high, but is definitely better than nothing, and is just another thing that reinforces the reliability of this PSU. The components that EVGA used when making this PSU are definitely high quality, so it should be able to last quite a few years before needing to be replaced. So there's not much more to say about this, it's just a reliable PSU that gets the job done. Now after seeing all these parts, you're probably wondering, how will this PC perform? Well, in most games it will be able to max out at 1080p with close to 60 FPS. Obviously there are going to be some anomalies where you will have to drop settings to maybe medium or high, but I don't think that's a big deal because the difference between medium and ultra settings really isn't that big in most games. No matter what game you're playing, I'm sure at 1080p you'll be able to tweak the settings and get a very good experience with this PC, and I'm sure you can even push it up to 1440p if you're willing to sacrifice some of the graphical settings. If you have any questions about this PC or PC building in general, whether it be help finding a new CPU or just questions about a new product launch, leave them in the comments down below and I'll talk to you guys down there. Also, I want to quickly mention before I end this video that I have links to all the products I mentioned in the description, so check those out if you're interested. But yeah guys, that's all for today. If you liked the video, please be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't like it, please dislike the video and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.